Welcome. Scott here. I will be covering on the upcoming Event 6 Warrior Quest, Area 6 in Global. Firstly, let me give you a quick overview on the 6 Warriors Quest. You can bring a party of 6 members for the quest. Each member can be equipped with their own call. For every turn, you can do a member swap. To swap a member you need to click on the swap button. You can only bring one summon and allow use one burst. No friend support will be allowed. Abilities that revive the party will affect both parties. The boss HP bar will have thresholds indicators. If you see the target icon is flashing with a red border, it means that the boss is going to do a HP attack. For those who have a full built-up roster, this is an event that you will enjoy a lot and the fun bringing a bigger party and have everyone utilize their strengths. Put a team of various utilities and this will help you in this even and future 6 warrior fights as well. Unlike Dimensions and Transcendence or Entropy, there will be no character lock. So, you do not need to worry about locking out the character for future 6 warrior quests. Let us proceed with the boss guide proper. The featured units are Yuffie, Cissnei, Papalymo, Yuri, Relm and 9. Yuffie's FR and her burst will be making their debut. Both Yuffie and Yuri will be getting their FR boards and reworks as well. We will be fighting 2 bosses, the Coeurl assassin and Ocro Marino. Both bosses have 250 million HP each. The turn requirement is 75. The HP requirements is 20,000. Before I continue further, here is a small disclaimer clause for the video. The guide is written based on the time that the event was released for the Japanese version. Please do note that it is possible that the boss fight mechanics might differ when the actual event is released in Global. Like most other Shinryu fights, the boss gains increased brave damage and gain resistances at start of the fight and 79% HP threshold. Bringing a support like Iris, Relm, Yuri, Lunafreya, Charlotta, Aerith, Ramza, Garnet, Sarah, Pernello, Pain, Bald here, or Selpha that grants damage boosting aura will make your fight easier. As the boss gains substantial boost to their defenses with the auras, it is important to inflict debuffs that lower their defenses. I have grouped the key utility in major groups. There is a huge need for debuffs in the fight. You need to fill boss buff slots with 16 debuffs or 8 debuffs each to avoid bubble shot plus trigger when its force gauge is at 70% or the confusion aura from its force ability. AoE debuffers like Yuffie, Edgar, Sarah, Lily Set, Gabrinth, and Seymour are very useful for meeting the requirements. You will usually use debuffs based LDCA, so you should not have too much difficulty in meeting the 16 debuffs requirement. At the start of the fight and 69% HP threshold, the Ocro Marino enters its crystal stance where it will also cleanse all the debuffs. You will see a lit up crystal on its forehead. If you let it take a turn, it will use HP recovery plus which heal back 40 million for both bosses. To remove the crystal lit stance, you need to inflict 6 frameless debuffs. I will discuss more on how handle when we are going through the mechanics in depth. Likewise, if you prevent bosses from acting with a turn disable debuff like confusion or paralysis, you can also prevent the HP plus recovery mechanic from triggering. At the 79% and 29% HP threshold and the crystal lit is off, the Coeurl assassin will trigger storing brave stance where the both bosses will gain a red aura which allow them to gain 999,999 brave along with boosting its brave damage resistance by 80%, defense by 100% and gains immunity to instant break. To remove the aura, you need to break the boss. To handle this mechanic, you can prevent brave gains with brave control utility like Yuffie's no cheating debuff from her EX, Brave freeze aura from SHINRYU BT or set the boss max brave sets to 1 or 0 with Sephiroth or Iris BT. In the event if you didn't prevent the brave gains, you can shave it with gravity shaving utility. Both Yuffie and Yuri has gravity utility to shave the boss brave to 0. Both bosses has a HP gate mechanic that prevent their HP from dropping below 49% until the gate mechanic is triggered. At the 49% HP threshold, both bosses will cleanse all debuffs on themselves and dispel all your party buffs. This can be annoying or dangerous if you do not have the turn to reapply buffs and will impact the damage potencies of buff-reliant units. To handle this mechanic, you can make use of evasion mechanics. Yuri BT Aura provides party-wide evasion by means of reducing the boss hit rate by 100%. You can evade with evasion like Rydia, Edge, or Leela. Do note that debuffs-based evasion strategy like Coeurl's Total Blindness will not be useful here since the boss cleanses the debuffs before they dispel your buffs. Overall, this fight is not as toxic as the previous 6 warrior quest fight, but the event still features some notable mechanics that you need to take note of. As long as you have the means to handle the mechanics, you shouldn't have too much difficulty in clearing the event. As we are no longer have Lufania Plus fights, the boss guide will be focused primarily on Shinryu fights. In Shinryu, you need to understand the effects gained by the boss as the force gauge build up, its force ability and its force time effect. If your party has low force levels, it is highly certain that the boss force gauge will build up faster than yours. To have a better understanding on the basics of the force gauge mechanics and Shinryu fights, I have done a video explaining the mechanics. I have included the link to the video under the comments and video description for your quick reference. Throughout the fight, when your party members act, the boss force gauge will increase by 4%. The bosses will also raise their attack, defense, and initial brave stats all by 50% and speed by 30%. They will also gain a Post Turn BRV Regen. When the gauge reaches 30%, the Ocro Marino will trigger granted buffs. Inflicted debuffs. It will buff the boss with 3 buffs, attack, defense, and initial brave by 50% for 5 turns and inflicts 3 debuffs which lowers your party's defense, max brave, and initial brave by 50%. Do take note that the debuffs trigger will bypass debuff evasion. When the gauge reaches 70%, the Ocro Marino will act differently depend on the number of debuffs you have inflicted on the bosses. If you have inflicted a total of 16 debuffs, in other words fill up all the boss buff slots, you will trigger the attack failed condition where nothing will happen except the prompt notification. If the debuffs is less than 16 total debuffs, the Ocro Marino will use Bubble Shot Plus, which is a guaranteed hit AoE Brave plus HP attack which will also reduce all buffs duration by 5 turns. The boss force gauge will build up faster as its HP is lowered. You can refer to the table on the screen for the percentages. At the 100% threshold, the Ocro Marino will uses the force ability. The type of force ability will depend on the number of debuffs that you have inflicted on Ocro Marino. If it has less than 8 debuffs, it will use Bubble Shot Plus which is guaranteed hit AoE Brave attack that inflicts a 5-turn Confusion Aura. Do note that the Confusion Aura cannot be cleansed. It will only be removed upon 5 character action have taken. This also indirectly means it is a game ender if you let it triggered. If you have filled all buff slot with 8 debuffs, the boss will use Bubble Shot Plus which is just a generic AoE Brave attack. Upon using the force ability, the boss will enter into its force time where the gauge will start to emit a red hue with a counter of 20 on its gauge. When the force time is activated, both bosses will gain an enhancement. Your party will get their subsequent turns delayed by 2 after they act. The Ocro Marino will trigger HP recovery where it will heal back 1% of its max HP or 2.5 million after it takes an action. Dealing the force weakness will cancel the boss force time. To do that, you need to use a ranged force ability while the boss party has 6 frameless debuffs present or have Yuffie use her FR to cancel the force time. Due to the self-delay mechanic, you can also make use of it for your advantage with off-turn team comps. Now let's go through the fight key mechanics. Let us start off with the Ocro Marino's Crystal Lit mechanic. As mentioned earlier, the boss will activate it at the 2 HP thresholds, the start of the fight and the 69% HP threshold. You will know the mechanic has been triggered with the crystal light appear on the Ocro Marino's forehead and the message prompt "the crystal is lit." Upon lighting up the crystal, the Ocro Marino will cleanses all debuffs for the boss party. This will be followed by a prompt where it says apply 6 or more frameless debuffs to the enemies. Meeting this condition, you will cancel the crystal lit mechanic. If you did not meet it and let the boss take a turn, it will use HP recovery plus, which will heal back 40 million HP each for both boss party members. However, if you let it take a turn and its turn is being disabled with a turn disabled debuff like paralysis and confusion, the crystal lit will be removed when the boss takes a turn. Examples of turn disabled debuffs option are Shant Auto, Mog, and Fuso Yat. If you have applied 6 frameless debuffs, you will trigger the condition the crystal light went out. The requirement specifies for frameless debuffs, which means framed debuffs will not work to cancel the mechanic. Examples of units that inflict 6 frameless debuffs on the boss party are Yuffie, Lily Set, Seymour, Kefka, Fang, Sarah, and Edgar. Apart from Edgar and Sarah, all the units just need a skill button to meet the requirements. You can also use debuffing CA like Sarah, Lily Set, Seymour, or Kefka. Titus and Farah CA could also work if you remove their LD passive. Now let us talk about the Coeurl Assassin's key mechanic. When the Coeurl Assassin's HP drop to 79% and 29% HP threshold, you will see the Storing Brave prompt on the screen. The boss party will gain a red aura, becomes immune to instant break, raises its defense by 100% and gain 80% brave damage resistance. The boss will also break their max brave cap and gains 999,999 brave. This is followed by a warning prompt where it mentions the following: performs a powerful attack on next turn. If the boss is unable to gain brave and remain broken, you will trigger the calm down phase. If the boss will able to gain brave, you will see the Coeurl Assassin boss switches its target to targeting all with the red blinking border. This means it is readying itself to use Dead End. Dead End is a party wipe KO attack. To remove the red aura, you just need to break the boss. Upon breaking the boss, you will trigger the calm down phase condition. As you cannot do instant break, shaving 999,999 brave is not an easy task. Even if you have rainbow brave damage or max cap brave damage, it will take 4 to 5 turns to shave the boss brave to 0. The easiest solution is to make use of gravity shaving utility or prevent the brave gain with brave negation utility like Iris, Sephiroth, Galbez, or Karasame BT Aura, or use brave gain prevention debuffs like Yuffie EX, Setzer and Cater Freeze debuffs. Yuffie can easily shave the brave with her S1 while Yuri can shave it with his EX. Now let us talk about the last key mechanics for the boss, which is tied to its HP gate mechanic. Let us recap what is a HP gate mechanic. An HP gate is the point where you cannot lower the enemy HP any lower until the mechanic is met. Be mindful of the gates when you are going through your FR phase, or you might end up losing damage potential. For this fight, the gate will only be removed after the boss triggers the following condition: players' buffs cancelled, all allies' debuffs removed. When the individual boss's HP drops to 49%, they will trigger the mechanic, where they will cleanse all debuffs on the party while dispelling all your buffs. Upon triggering the mechanic, it will remove the HP gate. Do note that the mechanic can be triggered while in your burst phase or summon phase. If you have party evasion utility, you can avoid the dispel effect. Yuri BT, Redia LD buff, Edge EX and Leela gives party-wide evasion, which will help the party to dodge those HP gate mechanics. If you do not have these units in the party, you can use Redia LDCA to dodge the buff dispel triggers. To avoid the triggers affecting your party damage output too much, try to trigger the buff dispel at the same time if possible. Even if you bring a party without any party evasion utility, you can just simply reapply your buffs after they gotten dispelled. You can swap in less buff reliant units like Yuffie and swap out buff reliant units like Noctis or Cissnei before you are about to trigger the buff dispel mechanic. If you have the summon available, you can use your summon phase to reapply your buffs. Likewise, you can swap in FR Echo with safety utility like Zac or Warrior Light, or turn disable utility like Shant Auto or Mog, so you can take the turns to reapply your buffs without the fear of the boss attacking your party. As you don't have your full set of buffs, do expect a minor damage drop off in your FR phase, but it shouldn't vary too much. Before I end the section on the boss mechanics, let us cover briefly on the boss basic attacks. Like all other bosses, both bosses have standard attack rotation. Let us start off with the Coeurl Assassin. It starts off using Acid Mist, which is an AoE magic brave attack that inflicts 2 frame debuffs that lowers your party's attack by 80% and speed by 30% for 5 turns. Next it will use Erase Shot, which is a reset break status, followed by a magic single target brave plus HP attack. Lastly it will end its rotation with Devastating Stab, which is a single target melee brave attack. For the Ocro Marino, it will start off with Bubble Shot, which is a reset break status, followed by a magic AoE brave plus HP attack. Next, it will follow up with Sphere Shot, which is a single target brave, before ending its rotation with Bite, which is a reset break status, single target brave plus HP attack. If the boss force time is active, the Ocro Marino will heal back itself with 1% of its max HP or 2.5 million HP after every action taken. Before I end the guide, let us cover a bit on the featured FR unit. Let us start off with Yuri first. Yuri has a slight rework on his kit with more HP dumps and gains an upgraded BT aura. He has the strongest party HP Regen aura at 30% of max HP from his overhead crystal buff. He can gravity shave the boss with his S1 and instant gravity shave to 0 with his EX. His LD allows his actions to set up his Holy God debuff traps. Let us briefly recap on his force condition. Upon using his force ability, Yuri will reduce all the enemies' brave by 100% of their max brave, followed by an AoE brave plus HP attack. While the force time is active, it will also enchant the party with the Holy Element. 1. Recover HP with HP Regen effects will get you 45% HP damage bonus. As mentioned earlier, Yuri has 30% HP Regen aura as long as his overhead buff is active. You can abuse this with supercharging with 95% per turn. 2. Use a holy ability to attack the enemies will get 5% for all allies and 30% for Yuri. This condition also applies to off-turn attacks. Yuri FR provide the party with holy enchant, so if your party consists of holy units or non-elemental unit, you should not have much problem in meeting the FR condition. As the condition also applies to off-turn attacks, you can pair Yuri with off-turn mechanics like Core, Minwoo, Ace, Maria, Quina, Emperor, or Glove. Generally, the FR condition is not very useful to build up phase unless you using Yuri BT phase to build the force time damage bonuses. Most of the time, you will probably be using the FR as an echo instead. The BT aura is one of the game's best support auras. The BT aura lasts for 8 turns. While the BT aura is active, it will lower all enemies' hit rate by 100%. This aura is very useful for fights where there are not a lot of guaranteed hit attacks. The BT aura will raise Yuri's personal max brave cap by 50% and raises his HP damage by 50%. The BT aura also grants the following aura to the party. It will raise the brave damage cap and brave damage dealt by 50%. It will also raise HP damage up by 30% and max brave cap by 30%. Lastly, here are some unique auras that you do not find in most BT auras. The BT will raise the party's stolen max brave overflow and gained brave overflow by 50%. Whenever the party deals a HP attack, their brave will increase by 30%. Generally, Yuri is a top tier support if you choose to green him. Okay, let's proceed to cover on the favorite ninja girl, Yuffie. Our favorite ninja girl has finally gotten her long-awaited upgrades. She got a very nice generic FR that is easy to fulfill for the party. Her skills have been reworked with more HP dumps, while her BT provide her access to her powerful Landscaper HP attack command, thus giving her more offensive utility. Upon using her FR, she will steal 2 buffs from the boss target followed by a ranged AoE Brave plus HP attack and inflicts 8 frameless debuffs on all targets for 3 turns. Let us briefly go through her force condition. 1. Inflict break or attacking a broken target will get 20% HP damage bonus for the party while Yuffie will get 40%. Yuffie has cheesy means of getting the boss broken. Her S1 can instant break a target with 100% gravity shaving utility while stealing buffs. Her EX's no cheating debuff will prevent the boss from gaining brave and even buffs. This will make your party chances of inflict break easily achievable. 2. Attacking a debuffed enemy will get you 5% HP damage bonus per debuff. As you can inflict up to a maximum of 8 debuffs, the maximum HP damage bonus you can get is 40%. With her S2, Yuffie can simply inflict 8 debuffs while throw back any boss inflicted debuffs back at the bosses. As her debuffs are generic, do be careful as you might accidentally push off important debuffs. Overall, this is quite a generic FR but with average HP damage conditions for the party. Unless you don't have better FR phase options, it is better to use Yuffie FR as an echo. Her FR echo could provide useful utility in stealing off the boss buffs. Now, let's cover his burst weapon. Other than the standard BT auras that most BT provides, Bald here BT will grant some unique mechanics. 1. It allows all debuffs that Yuffie inflicted will not reduce their duration while the BT aura is active. 2. While the BT aura is active, her HP attack command will be upgrade to Landscaper where it is a ranged AoE Brave plus HP attack with 9 HP dumps while extending her own buffs by a turn. Since it is the hardest hitting button, you probably will be spam it every turn during her BT phase. Her BT aura will also grant the party the following auras based on the number of debuffs present on the boss. Your party Brave damage up will increase 8% per debuff, up to 64% for 8 debuffs. Your party max Brave cap will raise by 5% per debuff, up to 50% for 8 debuffs. With this, I have come to the end of my boss guide presentation. Hopefully you find it useful. If you like the video, please give a like. Please subscribe to my channel for future gaming content. Good luck for the fight in the coming days. Bye.